he's got a blog post about how you customize the dashboard, which is pretty cool. You can actually go in there and modify. But this just, I think the example dashboard that they've created gives you, these are the sections that are on this page, and basically gives you a bunch of information about the installation of your site. So you can see which modules are used, what versions of those modules are in use, and so on. What skins are there, gives you a bit of information about your ASP.NET environment and providers and that sort of thing. All right, so let's go on to module definitions, get back to the point of the talk here. All right, so in this page, these extensions, as they call them now, are all modules that are installed already. And what I'm going to do is go and install the module, and I'm going to browse out to the folder that contains my downloads, which is, all right, come on. I'm just going to install the FAQ module. It's simple and easy. Okay, so what I've done is browse to a zip file that I have downloaded. Click next, and if you're used to developing on DNN 4 or earlier, you'll see that there's a few new pages here. There's this new, they used to call it an installation manifest, and now it's actually an install package. So they put some more stuff in there, and the name of the module, the description. They've added a couple fields here for organization and whatnot. But there's also then a set of release notes. Or they actually listen to developers sometimes who say, we need release notes, we need license terms, and all that stuff. So they gave us a place to put release notes and licensing. If you happen to have license information in here, it will come up and say, I agree or I disagree, the sort of thing you get with licenses. And when you get through that, then you'll see that if you see red here, you're in trouble. If you don't see any red, you're in good shape. So that's what it takes to install a module. And in fact, I forgot to show you at the beginning. There's a control panel at the top here that I didn't drop down that provides some additional control over the site. Okay, so if I drop it down, you'll see that there are some controls here for managing pages in the upper left-hand corner. So I can add pages, change the settings of them, delete pages, copy, import, export them. There's some module controls in the center top, so when I can drop modules on the page, and then at the right-hand side, there's some common task things like going into the users list that people do all the time. So in this case, what I meant to show you was that there was no FAQs module before I installed it, and there was one after. But the point is that it adds it to this list of modules that are available to be dropped on the page. And not to really get into new features in DNN 5 much, but you'll notice, looking at this list, that some of the things that are here, like dashboard and extensions, those are admin modules. Okay, this idea of modules, well, they're what we used to call admin modules. Right. So this idea of modules or pages being admin only or host only has kind of gone away, and now every module can be put on any page and given permissions for any user to use. One of the things that's always tough when you run a user group off of a .NET Nuke site and you want to delegate your newsletter to somebody else, you have to make them an admin of the site for them to send the newsletter. And that was the way that it used to be. Now you can actually set it up so that you put a newsletter module on a page and just create a newsletters role and put people into the newsletter role that you want to be able to send newsletters. Much nicer. All right, so you're seeing a mix of what are sort of user modules and admin modules on this page. All right, in that list. All right, so that's the installation of .NET and the installation of a custom module. I just wanted to walk through those pretty quickly so you can see what they look like. Let's head back to the slides and start trucking along here because I've been doing the slow talk and not the fast talk. All right, so in order to do module development, we need a development tool. So we're going to use Visual Studio. You can use Vista, Server 2003, 2008, XP, whatever you want. I typically do my development work on one of the server operating systems. And that way, I'm developing on the same platform that I'm deploying to. And I really like working on Server, well, especially Server 2008. It's very Vista-like, now that I'm a Vista user. So the Visual Studio 2005 or 2008, I recommend you use 2008 because you don't, I mean, it replaces 2005 completely. You don't have to have 2000. You can do everything in 2008 that you could in 2005 plus a lot more. It's not like 2003 where you had to have 2003 and 2005 because they were different, right? Nowadays, just get rid of 2005 and go to 2008. Trust me. And but you can do your development in either one of those tools. And then you'll use .NET Framework version 2 to 3.5 depending on what functionality. For example, if you want to use link in your module, you have to install 3.5. All right. But the caveat to that is, if you use link in your module and you require ASP, or you require Framework 3.5, not every host in the world runs Framework 3.5 yet, and you're going to limit yourself as to who can install your module. Okay, so you have to think about reach versus functionality. And let me get to that discussion in a minute. SQL Server 2005 or 8, you can use either the Express or I use the Developer Edition, which is the way to go if you're a developer. And then you have to configure, you really have to configure IIS on your machine to do .NET development. You don't want to use the Cassini web server, the ASP.NET development web server they call it. It's just not stable enough. You want to use IIS. And you'll configure SMTP if you want to send email from your portal. All right, so then if you are going to be building modules from scratch, you also want to install the starter kit, the .NET starter kit. And what that does is it installs a couple of project templates. And there's both VB and C# templates in there if you want. So you can build custom modules in .NET using C# if you want. And you can actually do it using any .NET language. I'm going to challenge someone to do it in F#. I'm sure somebody would, just to show they can do it. And then you configure DNN, and you'll use the install package. All right, so we're going to develop a custom module, but we're going to use the .NET install package, not the source code package. All right, and there's a couple of reasons for that. Among other things, you don't want to inadvertently change something in the .NET sources while you're in there fiddling around. If you want to look at the .NET sources, for a reference, what I recommend you do is you install the DNN source package in a separate portal, and you go in there and you set breakpoints and you fiddle around and look through the source code separate from your module development effort. All right. Another reason is that if you got both loaded, I mean, the DNN project is like, the solution is like 32 projects or 35 projects or something. It takes a long time for Visual Studio to process all this stuff. So it's much easier, much faster, much cleaner to do kind of standalone development on an install version of DNN with your custom module sources on that portal. We talked a little bit about the object qualifier and database owner. I think take a look at the book if you want the details of that stuff. All right, so in design mode then, the slide's a little confusing because it talks about two different things. So if you're going to install, let's say you're going to start from an existing module or you want to explore modules or something. So you're going to install a module source package. And I'll do that with my custom module here in a couple minutes. And basically, you need to edit the project file because the URL that you installed on your machine is probably not the same as the standard URL that comes in the project file. There has to be a URL in there. So you have to edit that. Then you open the solution and check the references and make sure that you can find the DNN assemblies and everything. If you take the other path, which is creating a new module project, okay, you're going to use the project templates that come from the starter kit, and you're going to run your database scripts and you're going to test them. You're going to add module definitions manually and test those, and I'll show you what the module definitions look like in a couple minutes too. Through that post module definition page that we already looked at. So there's a way to create the module definitions from scratch.
You're going to provide a slideshow for us later? Or should I take a lot better notes?
You can download the slides up.
Okay, I didn't know. Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah, it's fully available. And then either way, you end up running in design mode. So the idea is you set your project to debug mode, and then you want to set that compilation debug equals true in your web config file, and then you use the tools attached to process and attached to the ASP.NET Worker process. And then when you refresh your page, it'll stop at a breakpoint that you set inside of 20 pages. So let's go look at that. Let's actually do it. This time we'll hop over to Visual Studio. And in fact, let me not go there first, sorry. The idea now is that let's go take a look at the directory structure briefly here. So here is the ODUG